Welcome back to the Messy Success Podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth Henson. We have such an incredible guest today. This conversation is so long overdue, and you'll be able to tell because we had a really hard time ending the conversation on time. Today, we have Joy of Joy Michelle Co., who is a extremely successful YouTuber, photographer, mom of two, online course creator. She's an incredible community builder and she's a business coach for creatives. She helps photographers go from passionate to profitable through her weekly YouTube videos. Her Facebook group, which is hashtag photoboss, and her online programs. And you guys are going to absolutely love this conversation. We have such a similar journey. It sounds like we have very similar creative minds that are struggling to find organization, but we're getting there and we're making progress. And I just can't say enough about how much I loved this conversation with Joy and our time together. We have overlapped in a lot of different ways. She was one of my very first mastermind attendees years ago when I did what was called the Find Your Five Mastermind. And it was actually a pretty incredible offer and program that I came up with. And it's funny, I'll tell you guys more in the episode, but I just didn't really stick to it. And Joy and I have a really interesting and fun conversation, about that part of entrepreneur life. But what I love most about Joy is she really shows up authentically. She's vulnerable. She's willing to share that things are not always perfect, that things can be really difficult. I always really appreciate that in an entrepreneur when they can really share with us and have their heart open and not be worried about, do I sound perfect or am I really providing so much value? Like just speaking from the heart. And Joy does such a good job of that. And I'm so glad that, I followed along her journey all these years and watched her, become a mom of two. It's just been a really, really incredible friendship from afar. And now this was our first real conversation. I can say we're actually friends. So Joy, thank you so much for your time and energy. I cannot wait to share this. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, Joy, I am so excited to have this conversation. I feel like it's way overdue. So I want to hear kind of in your words a little bit about what you do.
Okay, yes. Well, first, thank you so much for having me. Okay, what do I do? Well, can I just back up to the beginning of starting my business?
Of course, of course.
Okay, so I started out in the wedding world, which I guess we both have in common.
Yes.
And that was 2013. So strictly just doing portraits, weddings, and I was all in.
We started
And
the same year.
isn't that
Yep.
funny?
I opened my business January of 2013. So yeah, same.
Okay, I think I filed for my LLC in July or something.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a combination, if I'm being honest, of trying to never have to work in corporate
Yeah.
and also wanting to be creative and serve clients and all the things. But really, I was hell-bent on not getting a job.
Uh-huh.
And so I decided I was all in. I was going to do this photography thing. Once I had a taste for making a tiny bit of money, I think I made like $50 on a session once. And I was like, this is possible for me. So I'm going for it. I went all in within a couple of years, was full-time. And around 2017, I got this crazy idea to like start a YouTube channel. And I don't think I had fully fleshed out what that would look like or what that could become. I was hopeful. I always have ideas and hopes and Enneagram 3 over here, but it was really messy. And so I started that and maintained both an education business and a wedding photography business. And that developed into a Facebook group and courses and coaching. And I have since taken a step back from the service-based side of my photography business to really see what was possible with the education side of my business. And of course, that kind of happened around the same time of the pandemic.
Mm.
So it was an interesting transition. So I've been pivoting and coming out with new products and courses, and really pouring into PhotoBoss, which is my community of photographers that came from this YouTube channel. And so that is kind of where I'm at now. And then now I'm in the process of launching a podcast in the next month or so. So lots of pivots in the past few years, but it's crazy to think about how long ago 2013 was, because it doesn't actually feel that long ago in entrepreneur years.
Oh my gosh, I know it really doesn't. And I'm like, I cannot believe, we're going to be coming up on our 10-year business anniversary soon. And it's crazy. But I love, like your entire journey is so familiar with like, the stuff that I've been doing. And then a lot of my other photography friends that have kind of, I want to say, really embodied becoming like an online entrepreneur, right?
Yes.
And it's just so awesome to like jump in. I think I started following your journey. It must have been a little after you started the YouTube channel because you already kind of had the YouTube stuff going on. I feel like I have so many questions. So tell us a little bit about your Facebook community. And I love that you trademarked Photo Boss, by the way. I'm such a like advocate of getting trademarked. So awesome. And like what that looked like in the beginning, like what made you decide, because you started the community after the YouTube.
Yeah, I want to say I was doing YouTube pretty consistently for about a year before I thought maybe we should just have a Facebook group for the continued conversations that I felt couldn't go super deep in the comment section on YouTube. And I mentioned it one time. I got maybe like two people giving me feedback, and I was like, okay, that's all I need. I'm going to pretend everyone wants this Facebook
Yeah.
group. When you're like, oh, you're asking for it. Oh, yes, yes, like the influencers. And so I
I
decided
love it.
I'm going for this. Like, I'm starting this Facebook group, and I was on the elliptical at Gold's Gym, like on my phone, creating this Facebook group. And I was like, what am I going to call it? And I was like, Photo Boss. I don't know. I'll change it later. And I kept thinking, like, that's the temporary name. And it kind of caught on. And now the members of the group will call each other photo bosses. They'll be like, hey, photo bosses, like, what do you guys think about this? Or what are you guys loving for editing and presets? And it just kind of caught on. And so I kept it. And then I ended up trademarking it last year. That was my first experience with a trademark. And so that was really exciting for me. And that's like my first trademark. And it feels like a milestone moment to be like, oh, yeah, that's something I created. And now the group is at almost 10,000 members, and it's still very active. And so it was kind of an accidental success in a way where I don't think oftentimes as entrepreneurs we have these like accidental, like I just stumbled into it. Like we're usually pretty thought out with our content, but at first I thought, we'll just have some conversations and see where it goes. But I very much like caught on quickly to the fact that it needed to be different than what I was doing on YouTube. It needed to be different than how I was showing up on Instagram, and that starting and growing and fostering a Facebook group is its own animal.
Hmm.
And that's why I love your Facebook group, the Community Builder, and why I'm always inviting people to it, because I'm like, this is helpful, guys, because people are frequently asking me, how did you grow this? And I'm like, that's what Elizabeth does. Like, she's the community builder.
That's so funny because yeah, sometimes that accidental success when you try to tell someone how you did it. This happened to me the other day. I was like, I don't know how I did that little piece of my business because
Yep.
intuitively, right? Like you just kind of followed your gut and your heart and like what felt
Yeah.
good and it just worked.
Yeah. And now looking back, I can reverse engineer some of it, but
Yeah.
it's like you said, it was intuitive at first. It was
Yeah.
me asking, let's be very specific about what value I'm bringing or what am I doing? We're not just hanging out in a Facebook group. It's a Facebook group for photographers that want to be profitable and are having a hard time finding clients. And like really narrowing in on that, because I think sometimes Facebook groups can lack a little bit of specificity,
Hmm.
and that can be really hard to grow, honestly.
Yeah, and I think you got on YouTube like I want to say right before a lot of photographers were really on there. Like I remember trying to find a YouTube video on how to do off-camera flash with like my specific, Nikon and flashes, and I couldn't find anything. I'm like, what is going
Really?
on? Like I should be able to find this answer on YouTube. And this was
Yes.
probably like 2015, 2016.
Yeah,
And then I feel like now there's a lot more photographers than there was then, but I feel like then there was only like 3 or 4 and they were mostly men. So I feel like
that's
you were
true.
able to really like, fill a void. And I feel like watching you from a distance, like you've always kind of like danced to the beat of your own drum. It's never about like, what are all the other photographers doing? And I'm just going to recreate that. Like you really like show up with how you want to serve people. And that's one of the reasons why you're successful. Like leaders go first, right? Like they're not afraid to try something new.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. I think especially coming into YouTube, seeing that the popular content was mostly like behind the scenes or come shoot with me. And I wanted to talk about the stuff that people weren't talking about. I wanted to talk about how did you find your first client or how did we deal with pricing and really more the business heavy side of things. And I made a few behind the scenes videos or flash videos or posing videos, but some of my most popular content is just talking head. Here are the things that I would do differently if I started my business today. And it's mindset stuff or,
Mhm.
being getting out of your own way and giving yourself permission. And so that is true that I think that instead of recreating what I was seeing, I just wanted to create what I wished I had and where the questions I had. And it was funny, I stumbled across a daily planner from I think it was like 2017, 2018, and it was like a Target planner, and on the back like cardboard cover it had like my first 10 YouTube videos,
Oh
and it
my
was just the
gosh.
title, and then it said like recorded, check, uploaded, check, published, check, and that was the workflow, and there was not even an outline. Like it, I don't know if there was like more to it than that, but I saw it and I was like, wow, this is scrappy. Like this is really, that's it. Like that's the entire, like you could go back and look at the oldest videos and they uploaded in that order. And now there's, like I'm in Notion and I have a workflow, and I think so, it was a reminder to me that I really didn't know as much as I would like to know about my next step even now. It's like we're always being scrappy, we're always iterating, and I was like inspired by my past self. And I thought, because I think sometimes when you're almost 10 years into business, you think, I need to know what I'm doing and where I'm going and how this next step is going to look. But we that I don't know why I put that on myself, because I never have. We just do our best and we just keep
Yeah.
taking that scary next step. And so when I saw how uncalculated the whole thing was, I was like, okay, all right, and it worked out, so we can continue on with this. Like you don't have to know all the answers for everything.
Totally. And I think the key is that you didn't give up, right? Like you didn't just
Yeah.
post those 3 videos and then like, okay, like my biggest thing that I always tell people if I could do it over again is like, stop creating new offers, Liz, and just stick to
Mm,
one. Like I never mastered really getting cold traffic into an offer that worked. Even like the mastermind that you did, super successful. I did 3 rounds with my organic audience. And then I was like, okay, what do they want next? Right. Instead of really solving the puzzle of like how to get cold traffic to that
yeah.
thing. And, I think it's not about like how good or messy it is when we start. It's like, are we just committed to like keep going? So you did
Yeah.
this in 2017 and here it is 2022 and you're still recording videos for YouTube.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is totally making me wonder if I do this too. I think as entrepreneurs, we get maybe bored of our own offers or what we've done, and then we see a little bit of success and we're like, okay, on to the next thing,
Yeah.
instead of saying, oh, okay, that's a tiny bit of success, what, let's double down on that.
Yeah.
And I think one of the best things that helped me in the beginning, like you're saying, the consistency. And I'm asking myself, why did I keep posting videos when no one was watching? Like, why did I keep doing that? And I mean, I have to just attribute it to my brother who had started a YouTube channel, and he was like, you have to do it for a year. And
Mm.
so to me, I was like, okay, I'm going to make videos every week for a year, which might sound really intense to some people, but
Yeah.
I kind of feel like that's how content works. It's a long game. It's not a quick ad that goes to a targeted audience, and you can target with your search engine optimization and you can try to be strategic, but it does take a little bit longer. However, I think it lasts longer. So I think evergreen content sticks around a lot longer, but it takes a minute to get some momentum. And I guess that's where I was like, okay, we're doing a video a week for a year and we're just going to see where it goes.
Oh my gosh, that's so amazing that you were able to stick to that. That's because I know it's a lot of work. Like YouTube is, it's not as hard as like we make it out to be in our
Yeah.
head, like big scary thing. But I mean, it's a commitment. Like for me, if I'm just going to be camera ready like for a day, it's it's like a big thing.
And I didn't batch back then. And,
Yeah.
to be fair, I didn't have any children back then.
Yeah.
So now I've got to like, figure that. So I've become definitely a more strategic business owner by absolute necessity from having two kids. But, I yeah, it's very time consuming. It is. But like you said, we sometimes I think we build up YouTube to be way more complicated than it actually is. And there were times when I would just go live because I had waited too long to record,
Mm.
and I figured something is better than nothing. And I think that really served me well, because if I could just go live and produce something on every Wednesday, I think that was really reinforcing what I now know was building trust with these people and building my email list. And even though I wasn't doing all the things right, and it took me a little bit of time to say, oh, let's get a lead magnet up here. Let's have a, more strategic call to action, and let's get a Facebook group. They were still there, and I was still doing some of the things right. And I think what's important as entrepreneurs is like, you can get some of the things right and still have a ton of success. Like, you do not need to be checking every single box, have the professional microphone, put the key light on your face. Like, you can experience a ton of success with YouTube without all of that crazy high production level.
Oh my God, that's so true. I mean, just look at like some of the channels that are like mega millionaires, how they started. Like even the
Yes.
shows that my kids watch, if you look at where they started as to where they are now, like that's the
Yeah.
thing. They just started.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the trick. I think, if we can just start before we overthink, a
Yes.
lot of things would reveal themselves. And I've learned that about myself. You're not going to figure out the whole journey. You just need to take the next step.
Yeah.
And I think that's hard for planners. It's hard for people that are strategic, but video is always a strategic answer. And I think that's something that's going to grow on any platform. I say that to people wanting to grow a Facebook group as well. I say, if you're serious about getting visibility and you feel like no one's hearing your message, no one is hearing what you have to offer, you really believe in what you have to offer to the world or to your clients, but nobody knows about you, think about video. Like
Yeah.
audio or video, but video is the fastest way to get your voice out and get that connection and for people to hear you, more so than just a text post or something like that. And so I just feel I'm very passionate about video marketing, because I feel like it
Yes.
truly is the fastest. Like, if someone is like, I don't have a lot of time to create content, then let that top of the funnel, that pillar piece at the top, let that start with a piece of video and then repurpose from there.
100%. And especially like you said, even going live, I always prefer to go live because I don't like to pre-plan. I'm like a wing it kind of person. But when people see us live and mess up and keep
Yeah.
going, and that little bit of like vulnerability and nervousness or whatever it might be, that builds trust so much faster than like a curated video and a curated, post, because people get to see like the real us of like what it's like to be in a room.
Yeah, it does. It builds trust. We think we have to be perfect, but then if I see someone be really, really perfect, even in a live, if it feels very highly produced, I think there's something in my head that says, like, I don't know about that. Like, that doesn't,
Yeah.
I can't be that. Like, I know I'm not perfect, so I can't be that. I guess I shouldn't learn from them because they're like superhuman. They're on another level. So
Yeah.
weirdly, the more real we could be, the more relatable we can be.
That's so true. And people love drama, right? They love messy, they love drama, they don't love it to be perfect. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit, like now with two kids, like
Yeah.
what does this YouTube workflow look like? And I'd love to know if you're going to be incorporating the podcast with the YouTube or if it's totally separate, but we'll do part one and part two.
Yes. Okay. So now I'm a big fan of Notion, the project management software. So I have a super nerdy table inside of Notion that essentially has all of my video ideas and then categorized into whether or not we're moving forward with them and how we're going to produce them. And so basically, until now, until the podcast, all of my content hinges on a video,
Mhm.
because I find that that's just the easiest. So if I can start with something that I'd like to produce as a video, maybe it's just a question my audience has asked, or it's a topic that I'd like to teach on, I put that in the Notion table, and then I try to batch record. But it takes a lot of energy to produce
Yes.
videos. So I wish I could be like some people and do like a quarter, and have like 12 videos done. But I kind of sit around like the 4 or 5 video mark on a good day. So I try to plan out a loose outline. It's not scripted verbatim, but I like to know what I'm trying to say. And that all just lives in a project management software. And so once I record that, I now outsource my editing, which is a game changer because I could obsess over, what do I leave this in? I don't really like the way that I said that. Should I re record that? Like, there's no room for any of the overthinking. And so that's a tremendous time saver, but it also helps me not to get in my own way or,
Mhm.
view it as it's in its production phase. I really just get it back from my editor and they say, do you have any changes? And most of the time there's not really time for it. So
Right.
I have to settle for B minus work a lot of times, whereas before I was being a perfectionist and that was not helpful. So now I outsource the editing and then I go ahead and I do all the optimization and uploading myself. And then that gets repurposed into a blog post and some Instagram stuff. And then the Facebook group, I do some content repurposing in the Facebook group, but I also try to have unique content in the Facebook group. And I think that's one of the reasons why people stay. And it's one of the reasons why they came in the first place. Um, Sometimes I think people will just use a Facebook group to share what they're already doing. And
Mhm.
that doesn't give people a real reason. They already follow you on, another place. And so I really try to bring something different, maybe continue the discussion or go live in the Facebook group or say, we're going to dive into your questions about what we talked about on YouTube on the Facebook group. So I kind of use it as a jumping off point to do something very unscripted.
Mhm.
But it's a deeper connection point. And so that's kind of how I plan out the YouTube stuff. Now for the podcast, it's going to be pretty separate in terms of content. And so I don't think I thought about combining them and, do I do a live podcast recording and make that the YouTube video? So for now, I'm going to just do a trial of letting the YouTube channel be the YouTube channel and not really change that and then add on a podcast in addition. So we will see.
Yeah. So is it going to be solo podcasts? Are you going to be bringing on guests? Like, what's your vision?
Yes, I want to do a little bit of both. I see it as mostly solo
Mhm.
episodes, but I do want to have guests. And I especially want to interview business owners who are moms and
Yeah.
are balancing both of those worlds and are ambitious in both of those areas and don't feel like they need to decide or choose between those areas and what that looks like. Because sometimes I think, business advice can sound really nice, but when you're the mom in the trenches and you have a little baby and kids and school and like all the ages, it can feel like there's a disconnect between the books that you're reading about business and how to actually implement this when, we might work part time. I work part time right now, like very part time. And it feels like every year the hours get stripped back and I keep adding platforms. So, what does that look like? And how do you actually scale a business while also intentionally growing your family? And so that's going to be a big emphasis of the podcast.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And it's so true. And, I remember when I was just kind of making that pivot from photography to digital entrepreneur, I couldn't find the moms, like Caitlin James
Yes.
hadn't had babies yet, you hadn't had babies yet, like
Yeah.
Jasmine Star hadn't had babies yet.
Yes.
And I just remember looking at some of my girlfriends that were having babies the same time as me. My oldest is 8, right? So this has been the journey. And we were like, they're not moms. Like, how do we relate to these amazing women that we love and adore, but like they're just not moms?
Yeah, and not compare ourselves because
Yeah.
I used to be the entrepreneur that got an idea and could just like do an 8-hour stretch, pound it out, launch it the next day. And now I feel like other entrepreneurs without children are running circles around me. And I
Yeah.
have to recalibrate my mind and be about slower growth and slower trajectory and still see that I'm doing other things that are also considered a success to me. And being present on weekends and evenings and all these other things are what I want. I just don't have like the numbers to prove it, if that makes sense. And so it's definitely tricky if you don't have that community, and it can be really hard to try to keep up with someone in a completely different season of life. I mean, in fact, you can't, and
Yeah.
it's not going to yield happiness or any kind of satisfaction in what you are doing. So that is a huge thing for me. I think is first creating the community for photographers that I didn't have, and then now it's kind of coming full circle. I'm like, okay, well, let's talk now about what that looks like for me as a mom.
Yeah. Because I'm sure you have moms in the group or, women that want to be moms in the group.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's really important, I think. And gosh, like everyone out there who's now had children has done it so gracefully and it's all been so, inspiring. And I'm like, finally, like, how's this going to go? And it's so awesome to see women that really embrace doing both. And, I think one of the things that I hate hearing the most is when a woman is like, well, I can't do that. Like, I'm a mom first. And I'm like, it doesn't have
Mhm.
to be like a first, second. Like, we're all moms first. Like, that's intuitive, right? Like, I'm
Yeah.
always going to choose my children over anything else, but like, we don't have to choose in that way, right?
Yeah, yeah, you shouldn't be made to feel that there's this, like, division of self and that
Yes.
you are always going to be the entrepreneur and you will always be the mother,
Yeah.
and they don't have to be in a constant battle with one another.
Yeah, I love that so much. Oh my goodness. Okay, so tell us a little bit about growing your team. I know you mentioned that you just brought on someone. How big is your team? What has that journey looked like? Because I'm amazed that how much you do yourself. Like, even just be like, okay, I do the optimization and the keywords, but you're very organized.
Oh, I
I'm,
try to be. It's a little messy. If I were to show you, you'd see some stuff that's, like, hyper organized, and then some stuff where you're like, "Whose computer is this? Like, why is this what are happening with these files?" So, I'm constantly trying to rein in my creative side and pull in systems. And I'm currently reading through the book Traction,
oh, it's
and
so
it is
good.
like, oh my gosh, it's like ripping me a new one. I'm like,
It's so
how am I
good.
supposed to do this? But I'm trying.
Yeah.
And it's incredible, and it's definitely shedding light in areas that I haven't thought about and things that I really need to put in order that are going to make my life easier. So my team is it's still very small. I have a small but mighty team of contractors. So I have a video editor, I have two virtual assistants, and one of them functions more as like the OBM in my business and
Hmm.
is managing on that level. And so far, I have been successfully able to hand off most of blogging, newsletters, inboxes, um, back and forth with inquiries for my coaching clients and things like that. And I'm trying and still working to hand off the YouTube stuff. So optimizing, tagging, keywording, really getting in there, making sure that everything's the way I like it. So that's the next thing to hand off. But my goal is to really sit in a place that no one else can sit. I want to
Yes.
be just recording for the podcast and just coaching one to one or doing the sales call or whatever Joy needs to do. I want to be only doing that, but 100% I'm not. I recently did a time study on Toggle. I don't know if you've ever used the Toggle app,
Yes. Yeah.
and it's so revealing about how you spend your time. And so I was like, I listened to a book or something about it, and I was thinking, yeah, in the book, they were making the point that most business entrepreneurs and people also working in corporate completely overestimate the amount of hours they're working and their amount of productivity and all kinds of things. Like, our perception is not reality. And
Hmm.
so I thought, maybe I'm not working on things that I think I am, and that's why maybe things are not progressing as quickly as I think they are. And so I did a time study for a couple of weeks, and it was just revealing to me how much admin and busy work, back end work, that I was still doing, and also just makes you a little more aware of the stuff you're doing that could be somehow automated or
Hmm.
systematized. And I don't really think in that way, but I try to put on that hat of the operations person. But it's hard, I'm like, I started out as a photographer, so
Yes.
it's
Yes.
it's not my natural, like, let's make a workflow.
Yeah, oh my god, we're like the same person, seriously, but let me tell you, it gets so much easier that I've almost become like a systems nerd, almost, but not in the
Yes.
way of like, I need to execute it, but like, I can see now so much easier when I'm doing a task that I shouldn't be doing or when something's repeatable, and I'll like do a really, really messy like workflow, and then my
Mhm.
team will can kind of clean it up and make it work how they want to.
Yeah,
But
I
I
love that.
mean, I when I first like heard this whole thing of like systems, I'm like, I don't get it. What is a system? Can somebody explain to me what
Yeah.
a system is? I know it will change my business, but I don't actually understand what it is. Girl, it was
Yeah.
like years, years.
Yes.
And I'm just now light bulbs are going off to the point where like some of my big agency clients, when I go into their business, I'm like, this is a mess.
And
Like,
it's familiar. I'm like, this was where I was. I'm not sure how I functioned. I'm not sure how I got like my content to be any type of cohesive and lead to a product or a service or a launch. To me,
Yeah.
now I feel like I can get a view of where things are going. And I think I just held a lot of it in my brain. And
Yes.
I can't do that anymore. And
Yeah.
I'm glad I don't have to. But like you said, once you get that taste of freedom of, oh, that's what it would be like if I just templated that email and then handed it to someone else, it is a little addicting. You
Yeah.
suddenly become a systems person when really that's not how we may have defaulted. But I mean, I guess that's just growing as a CEO.
Yes, absolutely. And really stepping into that role of like understanding I'm best serving my audience, if I'm on camera, if I'm on Zoom calls, if
Yeah.
I'm on these one-to-one coaching calls. And there are people in this world that are way better at creating the project workflows and way
Yeah.
better at creating the content.
And
If I'm doing it with half my butt and I have a team member that can do it with their full butt, it's going to be better.
I know. And what I faced was I knew I needed help. I started talking to VAs and bringing people in, and I couldn't receive their help well because I hadn't documented well, or I hadn't thought through the process. I hadn't communicated exactly what I needed. And I can't expect my team to read my mind. And so that's been a whole process of figuring out, trying to say, okay, if I was coming into my business and I wanted to teach someone this, what would that look like? And that's not easy. Teaching someone how to respond to a variety of inquiries is like a whole separate task. And so that has been taking up a little bit more of my time now, is stepping into this role of how do I get the help that I need. But I know the first couple times I hired VAs, very part-time or to take on a thing like Pinterest or something like that, I didn't have a workflow to hand to them. And so when it didn't go super smoothly, that was on me.
Hmm.
And that has been a recurring theme. I don't know if you've ever felt this way, but
Oh
if
yeah.
it doesn't work out with your team, it's usually you.
100%.
It's
Yeah.
always me. And I'll
Yeah.
say that to my team. I'll say, this is probably on me.
Yeah.
What do you need from me? What can I give to you? How can I help you? Because I know that it's on me. I
Yeah.
haven't communicated something. And it, rings true every time.
I know. I'm always like, dang it. I'm like the bottleneck in my business. I know if I don't do this,
Yes.
then I'm the bottleneck. And it's like, but that awareness is so huge and it's so exciting to see moving forward. Like, now that you're really like getting into all that nitty gritty, like what becomes possible, right?
Yeah, that's why you bring on the help. And you have to get through that like messy onboarding and thinking through the things that you're trying to hand over and then trusting and things might not be done exactly the way you did it, but the magic is that it got done and it
Yes.
probably wouldn't have. And then what did it, free up in your schedule to be able to do? And so I have to constantly remind myself that there's just no way I would be able to do the things that people see on the outside, the content that gets produced, if not for a team. It's just not
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah. I always say my
Um,
podcast wouldn't exist. Like there's no way it's not high enough on the priority list that I would have continued to produce it if I didn't have the team to put it together.
there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. And do
And
you
then
have a full production team for your podcast?
I wouldn't yeah. Yeah, I guess so. I've never that sounds like a really fancy word, but yeah.
I guess the question is, how much do you touch?
Yeah, so after today, I'll record the intro and the outro and I will upload into Libsyn as a draft, but not actually touch anything
Nice.
other than that.
That's
Um,
awesome.
on a nerdy level, I have a couple of like nerd tech questions for you. But do you use Otter at all for like transcriptions?
No, I
Okay.
don't. For
Okay.
YouTube?
Yeah, so like I'm trying to figure out how to take my videos, like my Facebook lives, I can download and then I want to use those like for podcast episodes every now and then. The podcast episode that just went live was one of the Facebook lives from the group. Long story short, when I upload it into Otter and send it to my team, it's like really losing audio quality. And I know that it's Otter because I've tested going straight into Libsyn versus or like into I've tested it a lot of different ways. It's definitely Otter. So I'm trying to figure out
Oh,
a
dang,
new
yeah.
workaround for that. It's not like horrible audio, but you can tell such a distinct difference in like my intro that's just me talking into the mic and then anything that we've uploaded into Otter and then exported.
But the audio seems clean before you do that.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Have
yeah.
you tried bringing it into like GarageBand, or
Yes, but it's a video file.
what about
So,
iMovie?
and you can export audio from there.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. That'll be my next. that'll be my next try, because I just need to figure out a different way to pull the audio out of pre-recorded videos. And I think that's
Yeah.
probably why people use StreamYard and, a lot of these things. But I think Facebook likes when we just go live on Facebook.
I do too. I do too. I've noticed a difference.
Yeah. And I just don't have a need other than wanting to reproduce it, for a behind the scenes podcast
Yeah.
episode. So
Yeah, that's fair.
yeah. My second question, I wanted you to dig in a little bit to the project management software. I've actually never heard of this one. Notion.
Yes.
Is that
Okay.
specific for video, or is it all project management?
No.
Okay.
Oh, no, no, no. It is just a project management software like Asana or ClickUp or
Hmm.
Trello. And it's definitely not specific to video. It's more of a blank slate that you can build whatever you need. And so for me, it made a lot of sense because I'm doing lots of different kinds of content. And so to have, a workspace is what they call like the pages. To have a workspace where I could have a table of all of my content was important to me, but I didn't want it to be a table format everywhere I went.
Hmm.
And so for me, I had a little bit of a hard time with Trello, which I used for a minute. I felt like it was a little limiting.
Hmm.
And Notion is very visual. And so you're building out your page. You can literally drag in images. You can do, tables, like I said. But there's lots of different ways to display it. And so a friend of mine invited me to a shared project inside of Notion at one point, and it felt almost like a little designed web page. And when I was there, I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? And she was like, welcome to the next chapter of your life. You are going to become addicted to Notion. And I was like, oh, I don't think so. This is like, it's not going to be intuitive, but it's very intuitive. And I don't have a like web design background, but I really do enjoy how customizable it is. And so I have a video on my YouTube channel about how I use Notion. So
Oh,
if
cool.
someone
Okay.
wants to literally watch how I create like the video tables that I'm referring to, or just keep lists and templates, it's really how I run everything. And I have team workspaces so that we can, move projects along. It's really, really nice, but it's not super popular. I noticed that
No,
a
it's
lot of
not.
times.
I haven't heard. We use ClickUp, so I haven't heard of it. We'll definitely put that YouTube video in the show notes, though, because I just love knowing about all the different ones, and
Yeah.
I'm very visual too. So I'm like, don't give me shiny object syndrome, but I'm like, I need to know about it. So that's very
Yeah.
cool.
I think ClickUp is going to be like gold standard for teams. And there's lots of like, I know that people have said there's like conditional things, like you can't check this off until you've
Mhm.
checked this off. And I know you can do that inside of Notion, but it's a little like more simple, in my opinion, than somebody coming in, especially as a solopreneur, and saying, oh my gosh, ClickUp is so much. And that's
Yeah.
how I felt about ClickUp. So if, if someone's like, oh, I just didn't jive with ClickUp, check out Notion.
Yeah, that's great. So it's almost like an in between of like, because Trello I thought was amazing for weddings, right? Like you just have a card for each bride and groom. Your whole team can access it. Like I freaking love Trello for weddings, but
Yeah.
ClickUp is, as I'm just now really kind of getting the hang of it and getting in my groove. And it's like my favorite way to like give my team to-do list things.
Especially for creating content that has many, many steps and
Yeah.
repeatable tasks and things like that. I've seen it really work beautifully for that.
Yeah. But I'm also like a big brainstormer. So I kind of hear like, the way you're using Notion, because I kind of just have like a junk drawer and ClickUp, but I definitely need places to brainstorm, because if it doesn't get out of my head, it's like never going to
Yeah,
happen.
yeah. Well, I think you should try it and just see, because you can pull in galleries or you can make it text, you can have big text and colored text, and
Ooh.
so it's a little more like having a notebook in real life, that you
Yeah.
want the header to be big and beautiful, and then you want the rest to just be plain text. So, um I think it's as complicated as you make it, I
Yeah.
guess, is how I would describe it.
Yeah, that's so true. Oh my gosh, so much good stuff. So tell us a little bit about, like, I know you're working on launching the podcast,
Mhm.
but what are like your current big rocks for like Q1 or Q2 of this year?
Yes. Okay. So I have basically my main two offers right now are coaching and hook and book brides for wedding photographers looking to market themselves. And so I'm next week literally going to be combining those offers and doing a live round of group coaching to go through the program. And so I'm really excited about that, because I know that a lot of my audience would like to invest in one-on-one coaching, but they're just not there yet, either in their business or financially. And so to be able to make it a group program is very exciting for me. So I am going to be opening the doors for that and hopefully welcoming in a whole cohort of students and then walking them through, Hook and Book Brides, which is this signature course that I've had for years now. And I'm just very excited to actually have a live component of it because it's been something that's been a, take at your own pace kind of program. But I know that now people don't complete courses. I mean, they
Mhm.
probably never have. I do complete courses sometimes, but I know I have a whole graveyard of courses inside of my Notion with like all the logins. And I feel that when I invest in something that involves another person, I am a lot more likely to follow through on it. And so I'm
Mhm.
trying to cater to that and really change around my offers and play with that and see if that will get my people more results, because that's ultimately what I want, is not just for people to buy the program. I want them to implement it and see the difference and feel like that was a line, and they profited after that.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've been focusing on, that and the podcast. Other than that, I'm like trying to keep my head down, put my blinders on and be like, no, Joy, don't get shiny object syndrome. Don't
Yeah.
think about all these other things, which is so hard because I don't know about you, but I get so many ideas. I'm like, ooh, let's write a book. And then I'm like, Joy, your baby wakes up in the middle of the night to breastfeed. Like, you need to chill.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I know. It's like, really having to rein it in when we're really creative thinkers like that.
Yeah.
It's so hard, but it's so fun. Like, I don't know, just learning how to control it and learning how to take on the right amount of work to fit the time that you have to work. Like, it's just such a fun journey, like, and I love that you said in the very beginning that you were just trying to avoid corporate America. Cause I think inside me, I always knew that I was going to
Yeah.
work for myself. I just didn't know what it looked like.
Oh, I relate to that so much. So much. When you said,
Yeah.
I just didn't know what it was going to look like,
Yeah.
but it was going to happen. Like, you were
Yes.
going to do whatever it took to not work in corporate.
Yeah, I mean, I was coaching field hockey and like telling the principal of the school, like, I don't know, I'll just like make t-shirts and sell, like I'll figure it out. And I
Yep.
remember like her face and like the way people were looking at me.
I
And I
love
was
that.
100% serious. Like, what do you, because I was a graphic designer at the time. I was like, what do you mean?
And
There
here
was
you
no
are.
t-shirt
Like,
sold.
there's no t-shirt. Maybe you do need to make t-shirts, like
Yeah.
either for the community builder or Shine the Light Society or
Oh my
something.
gosh. Yes. Do you have them for Photo Boss?
I don't, but I've thought about it, and I wanted, for a second, it was kind of a shiny object thing. I
Yes.
thought, let's do a merch, let's do a hat, like a whole merch shop.
Yeah.
And then once I started getting into it, I was like, this isn't this
Yeah.
isn't maybe what I should be focusing on, because it's not going to be something that actually like makes a ton of money. It's more just like a community thing. So
Yes.
I have some ideas to focus on that, but I tried to shelf it and like rein myself in a little bit. But I
Oh
would
my
love a
gosh.
photo boss hat.
Yeah, well, you've trademarked it, so I'm like, you should run with the merch.
Yeah.
But as your team grows, and this is like just a spot that I'm starting to get in, you can say, look, we have an opportunity to create a shop with some photo boss merch. Like, who wants to take that on? And
Yeah.
just like see if anyone on your team wants to jump in and get scrappy and figure it out. Like, Abby on my team put together my entire shop. Now we haven't followed through on marketing, but she plopped the little link in the bottom of an email and we got a sale. And I'm like, that sale wouldn't have existed if she
That's
hadn't
amazing.
done that. So, that's like, it's really exciting when you get to that, like, hey, we're leaving money on the table over here if anybody wants to lean into that. Like, I know it's not a high enough priority, like you said. T-shirts aren't going to be a big money maker, but like they're there, it's an opportunity, right? And
I
this is
love that. And I love that you pop the link into an email, because
yeah,
I definitely had one of those moments where I didn't have this big launch. I just decided, let's do a quick flash sale,
yeah,
and then sold 5 of something. And I
yeah.
thought, how many times could I have done this? And I'm just leaving money on the table because I'm not telling people like, hey, here's
You
something
can
you
buy
can
this.
buy. Yeah, if you
Yeah.
want to buy it, like, this is what I'm good at. It's so wild how we overthink that.
100%. Like, the only way to make more money is to make more offers, but we always forget, right? Like, every
Yeah.
every email at the bottom should have some kind of invitation on how we can help people or how they can work with us. But we
Yeah.
forget because we're like, "Oh, I got a dog. You want to hear about it?"
Yes, yes. Well, also we think, I'm just creative, like they already know about it. I don't want to be
Yeah.
pushy.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Oh my gosh, I love it. Well, this was so good. Tell us, how people can find you. I know you're on YouTube, but like anything else you want to share about like what's the best place for people to connect with you, reach out to you, all the things.
Yes. Well, I am on YouTube. You can find me at Joy Michelle Photography, and I'm Joy Michelle on Instagram. That's a great place to connect with me. And I do stories and polls and DMs. And if you are a photographer listening, there is the Photo Boss Facebook group, which would be a great place to go connect with people. I've had members literally meet their best friends in this
Oh
group,
my
which is like
gosh.
one of my like happy mom moments. Like, you're like, oh, my children, like they're
Yes.
friends now. And so those are some great places to connect with me.
Oh my gosh, I love it. And your Facebook community. Oh, your one-on-one coaching. That's what I was going to ask. Are you just coaching photographers, or are you starting to dabble in like other entrepreneurs too?
Yes. So I actually do coach other entrepreneurs, specifically people who want to start a YouTube channel. And so I've had a few of these. It's almost
Mm,
like a back end offer,
yeah.
but I'm working on building out a sales page for it. So I have really specifically helped photographers, portrait and wedding photographers. But then as of about a year or two ago, I started coaching all sorts of creatives, even like a workout coach to build out her YouTube channel and grow her audience and create lead magnets. And so I'm really excited now, just on a personal level, to be able to help other creatives with video marketing in general. So, very big into the YouTube
Oh
thing
my
as
gosh, I
well.
love it. That is so incredible. And I think the biggest like golden nugget in all of that is that, outward facing, like you're very photographer specific. And
Mhm.
that didn't stop people from
Yeah.
saying, hey, you're really good at YouTube. Can you teach me?
Yeah.
You
Isn't
know?
that crazy? And so, yeah, it definitely begs the question, like, should I make it a little more outward focused? And I think
Yeah.
that's what I'm working towards, but that is so true. It's when you're good at what you do and you're just getting visibility and getting in front of people, that trust can transfer into something else.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And we always ask, like, should we change our business name? Should we start another Instagram? And it's like,
Yeah.
no, people, if they like your picture, they'll ask who took it. You know what I mean? Like,
So
people will
true.
figure it out. Yeah.
So true.
So
Like,
I love that. I love that you're doing all of that. I'm like, when I'm ready for YouTube. Once I know that
yeah.
my team can handle the production, I feel like there might be some YouTube in my future. We'll see.
Oh, 100%. And you could couple it with some of the other things that you're doing and repurposing as well. You'd be amazing on YouTube for sure.
That's what I'm trying to really maximize, is like, how can I really leverage my content, right? So that when
Mhm.
I'm going live on those Fridays, that's like the pillar of content that we're pulling
Yeah.
from for the whatever. So that's where my struggle has always been, kind of like, if I feel like if my energy is not there, then
Mhm.
like, leads fall off or whatever that might be. So like, how can we set up our businesses so that like energetically, like we can step away and like things are still happening?
Oh my gosh, that's a very good conversation.
Yeah.
For sure. Like the energy stuff is real.
Yeah, and that's kind of like where I really am working towards getting to, and like that long-term goal of like, I want to be able to sell my business or pass it down to my kids. So it has to be able to run without me to an extent, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the goal of selling is a great conversation. Have you seen or read the book Built to Sell?
No.
I Someone recommended it to me because I trademarked Photo Boss, and it was a passing thought that maybe one day I would sell that.
Yeah.
And so that's on my reading list. I haven't read it yet, so I can't say whether or not it's good, but somebody said you have to read Built to Sell. So it's on my like Audible
Ooh,
like
okay.
next listen.
We'll have to like circle back and book club that or something.
Yes, I love it. Let's
Yeah,
do
because
it.
that's definitely, I would say, like the 5 to 10 year goal is just to feel really confident that I can energetically step away for like a month, for 2 weeks, but like things are still happening.
I love that. I
Yeah.
mean, that's like you own a business and the business doesn't own you.
Yes, exactly. And that's what really motivated me to step away from like solopreneur, because I was like, I can do
Mhm.
this and like make a living and contribute to my family, but like this is as good as it's gonna get, right? Like,
Mhm.
we want to help more people. We want to change more lives,
Yes.
all the things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's such a good point.
This was so good. All right. We may even have to have a part two one day. But thank
Yeah.
you so much for joining us. You guys, we're going to put all the good stuff in the show notes and make sure that you tell Joy hi and how much you love this episode. And we'll see you later. Thanks, girl.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, you guys. I have to confess, I think Joy and I continued talking for about 15 or 20 minutes after the podcast. And I had to like run to my next call. And I was like, we're just going to have to reconnect or do a part two. So many amazing takeaways and golden nuggets. And don't forget that you can find all of the links, everything that we mentioned in this episode, in the show notes. It's going to be elizabethhenson.co/E83. And you guys can connect with Joy. You can get her downloadables, find her YouTube channel. You can look into Notion. We'll share that YouTube video as well. But again, thank you guys so much for listening. If you loved this episode, make sure you leave us a review. I love when you guys reshare and tag. And if you could, send Joy some love, that would be incredible. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you soon.